Kimberly Elaine Mansfield, file 24S31552FH. Ms. Mansfield appears by video from the Macomb County Jail. Her attorney, Mrs. Shear, is present in court today as the time and date set for a sentence.
Ms. Shear, have you had an adequate opportunity to review the pre-sentence report and the sentencing information with the client?
I have, Your Honor.
Do you have additions, corrections, or deletions?
No, Your Honor, there were just a couple of corrections that it's my understanding that Agent Vanderveen made after discussing with my client from the Kent County pre-sentence report, and there's no other corrections, additions, or deletions.
Okay, Mr. Valet, anything on behalf of a victim or the people?
Nothing on behalf of the victim, Judge. Judge, I'm asking you to follow this recommendation while I realize this is at the top of the guidelines. The simple fact of the matter is Ms. Mansfield just won't stop stealing. She was on for a delayed sentence when this occurred. I think that this is warranted. I don't know. It seems like society in general thinks that theft has become less of a problem than it really is, though it raises everybody's prices, it does all those things. But the other side of it is, I don't know if Ms. Mansfield in the past has simply thought she could continue to get away with it, but there's not going to be any stealing like this in Macomb County. And I think it's an appropriate, even though it's right at the tip of the guidelines, and I'd ask you to follow it.
All right, then Ms. Shear, how about on behalf of the client?
Your Honor, there have been lots of discussions between Ms. Mansfield and myself and Mr. Valet and myself in crafting this. Unfortunately, Ms. Mansfield is before the court and unfortunately finds herself looking at a prison sentence. She did ask multiple times, and again, we had requested this throughout the case, that she be able to do something as an alternative to prison. Obviously, number one, given her age, her health status, those are some of the considerations here. Again, Ms. Mansfield and I have had a lot of time to talk about background and history and a lifetime of things that have went on with her, and to say that unfortunate sets of circumstances that many were out of her control, circumstances in her life. I mean, family history, those types of things that she couldn't control, you know, have affected and impacted her and her choices greatly. And again, we stand here before the court, and as Mr. Valet said, this is at the top of the scoring guidelines. It's scored. Ms. Mansfield, of course, would like something significantly less, and again, we have talked to the prosecutor about that. And again, given some of the things I think that have been put forth in the PSI, and again, in addition that Ms. Mansfield and I have discussed during our many meetings at the jail, I would ask court to consider that while imposing a sentence here today.
All right, Ms. Mansfield, anything that you want to say before the court imposes sentence?
Yes, I know what I did was wrong. I never have denied of coming here to steal. I had relapsed. I'm sorry, but I feel like, you know, I've never hurt anybody. I know it's wrong to steal. I've not physically hurt anybody. I have a lot of medical problems, and I feel like I have done this before, and it's all evolved around drugs. I've never got a chance to do rehab prior to going to prison. I've always been sentenced to prison and got 4 times. I've always been sentenced to prison and no alternatives. I've done my time for the past, and I feel like it's kind of they're holding my past against me. I know it's wrong to steal, but at that time, I cared what I did because I was just trying to get the drugs. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I'm not a mistake. And I'm sorry for what I did, and I'm sorry for the community of Greenville. If there was a way that I could, pay it forward to, um, but I can't change what I did. I mean, I can only better myself, and it has taught me a great lesson. Maybe this is what I needed. I don't know, but in the process of all this, I almost died. So am I thankful? I'm thankful to be here today, alive. And I apologize to the court. I've never denied what I did. I've taken full responsibility. And I would just ask, if I do have to go to prison, well, I know I'm going, maybe for a couple months lesser. Just take it into consideration. I feel
Anything
like,
else?
I feel like, one more thing, I feel like the time just don't fit the crime. I mean, I've had a death in the family over the last week. And I just, it's been a lot for me to take in. And I apologize to the court.
All right, so Ms. Mansfield, you stand before the court today with 7 prior felonies, 13 prior misdemeanors, right? So that is a substantial history that spans, your first conviction was in 1977. So it spans what, 47 years, something like that. And I think I could make a better argument than the one I've heard here this morning from you, that 24 months is not enough time. I mean, when you tell the court that they're holding my past against me, there's a reason that statutes are built with graduated penalties. There's a reason that we have habitual offender acts, which impose greater sentences for the number of felonies that one has. And you are the poster child for all of this. I don't have to recite all of your convictions, but I think we should place on the record why we're here today with a sentence that we're looking at today. I'll just start with the latter half of your criminal history, number 13 of 24. Not only was Mr. Vallée correct that you just don't stop stealing, you have engaged throughout the course of your life a history of all kinds of deceptive theft-related crimes. In 2004, you were convicted of larceny over 1,000, received a prison sentence. 14 of 24 in 2006, false pretenses, another form of stealing, if you will, another MDOC sentence. 17 of 24 in 2012, larceny from a person, another MDOC sentence. 18 of 24, retail fraud in the first degree as a habitual offender, 4. So when we say that they hold my past against me, maybe they're not holding their past against you enough, because maybe these crimes could have been prevented if you had remained in prison. Man, the Department of Corrections is tasked with 2 things. It's keeping the community safe, but then also rehabilitating offenders. So when you mention to the court that you've never been given services, a chances at rehab, that's all nonsense. Either the Department of Corrections is not doing what they're supposed to do with the rehabilitative portion of their directive, or you're simply not engaging in it, because both can't be true. So let's go to that last one. Where did I leave off here? Oh, 18 to 24. Retail fraud in the first degree as a habitual offender 4. I'm sorry, that was 2012 of MDOC sentence. Now we move on to 18 to 24. Retail fraud in the first degree without the habitual offender this time. How does a prosecutor go backwards with your history? But then you went to prison again. And then 19 to 24, that looks like it's still pending. Am I right? That's still out there.
Yeah, she was sentenced on the way for that one.
Well, right, that's what I mean, but she hasn't been back, right?
Correct, she has done.
Yeah. So who knows what happens with that? But that is a habitual offender 4, at least this time. And then I skipped another version of your theft. 19 to 24, I want to highlight because it's particularly heinous. Embezzlement from a vulnerable adult. I mean, you take advantage of everybody. Stores, vulnerable adults, you name it. So all of this stuff falls on deaf ears, man, because you are what your record says you are. You're somebody that would seem from the paper, you are what your record says you are, hopelessly broken. You're not going to change. You're not going to change at age 65. I suppose it's possible maybe you just get tired of being incarcerated. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The record doesn't suggest that. We send you to prison, we send you to jail, you come out and you do it again and again and again and again. I'm required and I will impose a $130 crime victims assessment. There'll also be a $68 state cost, $400 in court cost. I'm sorry, $400 in attorney fees, $500 fine, and $550 in court costs. Ma'am, for all the reasons I've stated on the record, I'm going to impose a minimum sentence of 24 months with the Michigan Department of Corrections to statutory max of 5 years, and you will receive credit for 61 days you have previously served. Ms. Mansfield, you do have a right to seek appellate review of the sentence that you've just imposed. If you'd like to, you have 21 days from today's date to request appellate review, and if you want a court-appointed attorney to assist you, have a broader window of 42, so 21 and 42. If there's nothing else, that will conclude the matter. Thank you.
We have Justice Carmody at the jail.